was nearly kicked out of university in my first semester, and this is the story why.
University. It's a staple of most people's education nowadays, at least here in the UK. Whether you want to specialise in one really weirdly specific area of work,
welcome to Anywhere University, where you can study just about anything. Comedy man, to puppet man, costume maker, Egypt man, Mr. Robot, turfgrass man, and Scottish person. Google our prospectus and enroll now.
me, I didn't really even want to go to university, at least not to begin with. I went to sixth form and rediscovered how fun it was to make videos, but I didn't want to do it professionally. I like making videos. They weren't good, but they were fun, and thanks to the fact that I was bullied prolifically growing up making videos, when it came to doing them in sixth form, I developed such a hard exterior that no
bully could penetrate it to hurt my soul.
I stopped worrying about what people thought about what I made and just got ambitious about making art. But I still didn't want to go to university. It was a teacher by the name of Mr. Drought who made sure that I signed my UCAS form and sent it away to go to university in the first place. And it took me until the very last week of UCAS deadlines because I was acting like SpongeBob in that one episode of SpongeBob.
Nah, I don't really feel like it.
And so I finished sixth form and I come to university, the first day of which I spend listening to the Monsters University soundtrack because that is about the only thing that gets me through that day. But in the time that you are at school, you literally grow up around all of these people, whether you're friends with them or not, whether they bully you or not, whether you really want to take one of them to the cinema and give them a little kiss or not. My first week of university, I remember mostly just being icebreaker lectures. There was one really weird icebreaker, which was for a unit called Experimental Film, where our lecturer, one Rob Jefferson, who is a gem of a human,
Candy for the clown they call the Sandman, tiptoes to my room, frightened.
had us all sit down in one big round circle facing each other to break the ice, which from the outside 1000% looked like an AA meeting.
Why I'm here in the first place is to sell you
On a right good film course.
This unit experimental film was absolutely awesome because you could basically do whatever you wanted so long as it related to a sense of place, which was the name of the unit, and a door left so wide open it should be illegal. You can make anything you want so long as it relates back to just kind of sort of this.
I call this piece sniffing a lot of glue.
So in order to give us inspiration, Rob Jefferson had us sit down with a thesaurus. And we had to turn into a random page with a random number, and whatever word that number was, we had to write a treatment for it of how we would turn that into a sense of place. One of the words that I got was knapsack. Now I'm a huge fan of history, more specifically, a huge fan of military history. So naturally, my brain goes, ooh, knapsack, military bag, let's follow a bag through war. Because that's a normal thought process for any healthy human being to have. But the other thing that we had to focus on with this piece of art in particular was manipulation of a timeline. I decided to focus on a nightmare sequence from the point of view of a soldier fighting in D-Day under the pretense of psychological casualties in war. And when I handed my proposal over to my lecturer, it was met with optimism and surprise. See, it turns out for however long experimental film existed on the film and TV course, nobody had wanted to do it in live action. Everyone else just wanted to use this dragon frame studio, which was like a professional stop motion rig. It was all in one room. You didn't have to go outside. You didn't have to do anything. You didn't have to go outside. But the thing is with this is I don't like it. Like, look at me. Do I look like the kind of person that's capable of making Wallace and Gromit or like a war story? Those two things they don't mix.
Did that tree just speak Vietnamese?
And so I went through the motions of organizing this shoot, which meant getting in touch with the Blythe Battery reenactment team.
Every summer, these volunteers put on a fantastic display showing what the Normandy landings kind of sort of were like for the audiences that would gather in Blythe. They've got pyrotechnics, they've got weapons, they've got actors, and I look at all of this and go, I want some of this. So I get in touch with the council, who then in turn put me in touch with Paul Martinez, the leader of the volunteers that does the reenacting of the war on the beach that is in the summer. Paul was fantastic and also incredibly Geordie.
The weapons, if they get dropped in the sand, foul in the water, we're not bothered, we'll clean them up.
It was a cold October night when we came here to Blythe Battery's Visitor Centre to discuss the plan for the film with the reenactment team. And also, David was there for muscle because I was frightened of adults and also he could drive.
Goodbye, Lucas.
And after a pretty in-depth discussion about the film, we got the green light. There it is.
Now, I'd already gone through my lecturers and told them that I was going to be using pyrotechnics on this shoot with a professional pyrotechnics team. And to begin with, they were like, awesome, that's cool, that's brilliant. You're going through all the right channels, you're doing all the professional practice that we need for this, that's cool, crack on. But then as the shoot day closes in, when I've already organized my cast, my crew, Paul and his volunteers ready to roll, my dad as a first aider, a bunch of smoke grenades and thunder flashes for the day, the university turns around and says to me, please don't use pyrotechnics that explode, please don't do that, please. I still can't believe that that's a real email I got.
That was a blow, a huge blow, and I thought that it was going to harm the outcome of the film. But I didn't stop getting ready anyway.
The day of the shoot comes and I get all of my wonderful boys along to Blythe in the finest, cheapest costume that I could find, because this is 2016 and I'm a broke student. Now I'm just a broke man. The boys were all super excited. I was cautiously excited, but secretly I was still super bummed out at the fact that we couldn't use pyrotechnics. Partially because it would rob the film of some of its authenticity, but also because I wanted to see things explode. But then I get to Blythe Battery and see Paul and my dad and a big old box of explosives. I tell them how my university has said we can't use pyrotechnics. And then Paul proceeds to say to me, look, you didn't need to worry about anything because we're professionals and we do this year on year. You're in safe hands, Bonnie lad. Well, in that case...
Yeah, no, I caved. And so the shoot commenced on this stretch of beach right here, where we had only one live firing weapon, which was a Sten machine gun, incapable of firing more than one round from the magazine before it locks up. So the armor had to chamber load one round every single time we wanted to fire. But did the cast and crew care?
And so we shoot the D-Day sequence, starting in the sea and working up the beach until it's time to simulate artillery with our explosives.
And it was here, on this side in 2016, that one British filmmaker was about to make a huge fucking mistake.
Now, before I go any further, I feel it's really, really important that I stress just how safe we were in this practice. I used perspective to make it look like we were way closer to the explosives than we actually were. You can see we're about 25 feet away from the explosions. Everybody had ear protection in and everybody already knew what was coming. The police had been notified about the exact practice that was going on. The council knew what section of the beach that we were on. Everything was safe. We had gaffers at every corner of the beach to stop anybody from coming onto the beach whilst we were doing the explosives. And so we go to do the big explosions and nothing happens. Whatever's meant to trigger the explosion wasn't triggering anything.
And it was then that in my dad's infinite wisdom, he took his battery out of his Nokia smartphone and used that as a primer. And even though the pyrotechnics team laughed, it worked.
So we did our takes with the pyro, we did many takes with the pyro, and people had a little poo. We finished the shoot and we're done. Everybody's happy, we've got no injuries, no problems, no faults, everything went according to plan. Absolutely everybody on this team did exactly what they were there to do, and they did it perfectly. We wrap up, we say goodbye to Paul. I promise that I will film a D-Day reenactment for them come the summer, and then we leave. I cut and edit the film together using Sony Vegas, and then I submit it to my lecturer for sign-off. And this is the film that I sent.
For every 4 men wounded, 1 soldier will become a psychiatric casualty. They see their best friends cut down and burned by the fire of the enemy.
Now, when I say submitted, I mean more that I took it to him and showed it to him in person. And was he blown away? Oh, yeah. But he also had, on the subject of being blown away, I had one glaring question.
Terrific, fantastic. Just one question. How did you do the explosives? Green screen. I lied to my lecturer. And the worst part is, I would have gotten away with it if I hadn't have submitted the film for assignment with a YouTube link that directly linked in the suggested bar to the making of the film, which obviously they're gonna see.
You know, just a small oversight, a small, tiny little, absolutely in no way, absolutely massive oversight.
So one night, some weeks later, I'm walking back to the bus station to go home to my house. Like a human. And I get an email through, which is the marks for my experimental film. I open the email and I go, oh, I got a first, but like I barely got a first. I got a 71. So immediately I'm thinking, oh my God, the standards must be incredibly high because I did so much work for this. A proof of concept, pyrotechnics sign-off, working with the council, working with the police, working with a professional reenactment team. How am I only barely getting a 71? Oh, hang on, there's more here. This art piece has all the makings of a high 1-band grade. However, there's been a gross breach of health and safety practice in the production of this film, brackets, we've seen the making of. Oh no! I'd been caught, and the feedback had summoned me to a meeting with Rob Jefferson and Neil Percival, who was the head of the film and TV production course. Worse still, it was also to be attended by one of the professional practice lecturers, Andrew Ross. Andrew Ross was the head of professional practice on this course, and he was terrifying. If you can imagine putting Severus Snape and Alan Sugar together, that was Andy Ross's vibe. So I come into this meeting in the experimental film suite, and I am 1000% expecting to get put on blast in front of these 3 course leads. Hello, Liam. Thank you very much for coming. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The discussion has been had whether it would be appropriate or not to remove you at this stage from the course.
Okay.
Yes, and whilst your approach to this film was reckless and cavalier, we don't want to discourage and dismiss a clearly promising talent. And before you start, that isn't a glaze, alright? That's actually what they said. They break the 4th wall. Sorry. Which is precisely why we want you to put a lecture together to deliver to your entire year group to discourage them from following in your footsteps, detailing to every finite detail just how badly you fucked up. Huh? So the good news is I was not getting kicked out of university, and my career was not over before it had begun. But now, I had to go out in front of an entire course of people that I don't even know, people that might judge me, and tell them how badly I messed up. Forget about what I said, forget about the hot exterior that I said that I had. Andy has taken it from me and I'm scared. And so I sit in the library late at night making a presentation all about all of the safety precautions and procedures that I'd put in place, calling the police, speaking to the council, getting the land signed off, but most importantly, including exactly why I should not have gone ahead and used pyrotechnics anyway. You see, what Andy Ross and Neil had told me in that meeting was that because I just said said yes to blowing the beach up, it immediately nullified one of the most important things that was covering my back. Public liability insurance. Because the paperwork was amended to say that we were not using pyrotechnics on this shoot, and then we went ahead and did, it nullified any protection legally that we had on this film shoot. So if anybody got injured on that shoot, if I had sent my own foot or some random person's Labrador to the Shadow Realm, it would come out of my pocket, this idiot's pocket. And with no insurance to save me, I would have been crucified. And so I stood there in front of my course of nearly 100 people, showed them the film, showed them the making of, and then stood there and just made a tit of myself, telling them why I had messed up so badly. And as quick as it started, it was over. And as my heart rate began to settle, Andy Ross stood up out of his seat and he came and put a hand on my shoulder and he said, you know, Liam up. Liam up really f***ing bad. But it takes an incredibly large set of f***ing balls for somebody to stand here like he has today and admit just how badly he'd f***ed up. Thanks. And from that day forth, people on the course knew who I was. And as frightening as it was to stand in front of all of those people and tell them that I had just made a huge mistake, it opened me up to working with some fantastic people on some fantastic projects that I am still to this day proud of. This short film had its own kind of pyrotechnic misfire. Maybe that's a story for another day. And that's my story. Thank you so much for watching. If you are an aspiring filmmaker and you're watching this, please, my God, play by the rules. It might seem cavalier and cool to just break them, but there's a reason that they're in place. They're in place to protect you. They're in place to protect me, the university, if you're attending one. Just don't. I've just realized I'm standing here doing exactly what I had to do nearly 10 years ago now. Thank you so much for watching. These are my amazing patrons, which you can become a part of in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching me right now and I went to uni with you, thank you for giving me some amazing years. And also, if I was a dick, sorry, I'm not one anymore. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Stag. You've been wonderful. Join me next time when we look at the do's and don'ts of a music biopic.
Oh, for those wondering if I actually did record a reenactment for the D-Day, guys, I did. Took me about 6 years to get there, though.